Well, thank you very much, Jesse, and thank you for the participants in this call. I know you're very busy. We'll kind of keep this brief, but if you do have any questions or interviews after we get done with the conference call, contact me. My direct office number is 417-501-5132, and we have 6 offices in mostly in the western part of the Midwest, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, and in Missouri is our home office. But we had a fairly interesting report here today. This report typically is not a major market mover, as that is reserved for the end of the month acreage and supply and demand numbers, but this did have a few surprises in it. It had very constructive numbers for corn and soybeans, not so much for the wheat market. But as far as major surprises, probably the corn ending stocks for both old and new crop are the surprise here for the trade. And I'm going to go through these numbers. You probably have them as well, so we'll go through them fairly quickly. The corn stocks number at 1.708 billion bushels is down almost 100 million from last month, and that was probably one of the more shocking numbers of the trade, that the USDA would cut ending stocks that much in 1 month. It's well below the average trade guess. Same thing in the soybeans here. It was well below the average trade guess, about 30 million less than a month ago. And because we cut the old crop carryover stocks, that also cuts our carry in for new crop stocks, and that lowers our ending stocks as well. So all this was very much anticipated by the trade. We were looking for a positive report, and that's what we received. Corn ending stocks right around 2 billion bushels, down from the average trade guess and down nearly 145 million from last month. Soybean stocks at 260. That is down about 45 million from last month, and it is quite a bit less than year ago levels, which is the opposite of what we saw in the corn stocks. We were actually quite a bit above year ago price levels or stocks levels. But these numbers, as I said, not a major surprise to the trade, but was enough to give us new highs right after the report's release. Then we saw the market sell off on some profit taking. We're going to see this market be very jittery, very jumpy going forward in here into the Sunday night trade. Could be kind of an explosive Sunday night. We have a very hot weekend in store for the Midwest. Markets anticipated that already, and we built weather premium into the market. We have weather and rain in the 6 to 10 day forecast. If that rain is still there, no doubt prices will work their way lower. A change in that forecast to a drier trend, and prices are going to exceed these highs on Sunday night. The wheat market was one that did not have a positive spin on things. The old crop stocks were right in line with last month at 980 million bushels. New crop wheat stocks 1.05 billion, larger than last month and right in line with what the average trade guess goes. If we look a little bit deeper into some of these numbers, we certainly expected production for U.S. wheat to be larger than year ago levels. We're hearing some big yields coming out of Oklahoma. Some of our clients in Oklahoma are talking about lines that are forming to dump the wheat at the elevators. Some of our clients in Texas are talking about a lot of quality issues. However, yields have been good, but the quality is not there. But overall production is much larger than year ago levels, last month levels at 2.077 billion bushels this year, and that puts our ending stocks up to the 1.05 area. So USDA did increase exports slightly, and our usage was increased slightly, but it's not enough to offset the big production numbers. And if we look at more of a state-by-state breakdown, the biggest gains are coming in the state of Kansas here. Big production jumps there. Oklahoma is going to have a big production jump. States of Texas also showing an increase, and interesting to show that most of the decreases coming out of Missouri, Michigan, Maryland, Kentucky, kind of some of those smaller states, fringe states, and maybe some soft red wheat is suggesting that yields won't be quite as good, and that may develop some intermarket type spreading, a little bit more pressure against the hard red winter, and the soft red winter finds support against it. As a side note, clients in North Dakota and in South Dakota, Minnesota, talking about dryness. It's dry in these areas. The crops look great so far, but certainly going to need some rain to get the spring wheat crop to full maturity and full yield potential going into the summer months. If we look at changes to the balance sheet, in particular the corn market in here, no changes to production. That'll come next month. We'll start seeing more of that. And exports were increased by 50 million bushels. That gives us total usage 50 million more than last month. So we're going to produce a crop using 168 bushel yield of about 14.4, and we're using 14.17. So if we get anything less than that 168 bushels per acre, we are likely to see our usage outpace our production. So there's not much room for error in here, and that's why we have such a good premium built into this market. Of course, if we produce a yield bigger than 168, we're going to have massive amounts of ending stocks, or even a yield close to that 168. We're going to have massive stocks to deal with. The soybean market here, the yield is unchanged at 46.7 bushels per acre. I think everybody is expecting we're going to see harvested acres increase. That'll be reflective in the June report, and that'll change these balance sheets somewhat. Our total usage was increased by only 15 million bushels on an forecast of increased exports, and I really don't look for much changes in exports going forward in here. We may see some small revisions, but most of that was accounted for in this report from the government. Our ending stocks forecast at 260 million bushels is tight. Production is not going to meet usage even at 46.7 bushels per acre. That's a key note to pull out of here, is our production at 3.8 billion bushels while we're using 3.9. So that's why we're cutting into our stocks. It certainly yields lower than the 46.7 will ignite things and make us even more positive, more bullish going forward. With that, I'm going to open it up for questions so that you can meet your deadlines. If you have anything else, please give me a call afterwards. Otherwise, I will accept any questions. There's a lot of wheat growing around the world. The USDA, I didn't go through these world numbers, but they did not change the balance sheets very much, if any changes to corn, soybeans, or wheat. But the U.S. has certainly a lot of competition out there for any export business, which is one of the reasons why we've built ending stocks over 1 billion bushels, is we're just not able to export what we have. And what we do have is in competition for feed usage with the corn market, which up until this year has been pretty cheap. Yeah, thanks, Mike. That's certainly a great question. Looking at acreage numbers, right now their harvested projection is 81.4. I think you're probably going to see an increase of at least 1, possibly 2 million acres, and there's probably some people who will talk even a 3 million acreage increase over what we saw in March, from the standpoint that not only soybean prices have really outpaced corn, but also a lot of areas were late planted. Producers in parts of western South Dakota, from the Yankton to the Sioux Falls area, western part of Iowa, southern Minnesota, they had a lot of ponding. They're just now getting into the fields to plant, and so it's certainly too late to do corn. They're switching to soybeans. There's going to be quite a few acres switched, but things in the last half of May dried up enough that guys were able to get back in the fields, and I think you're going to see probably, I would say, a 2 million or so acreage increase, which is going to add 100 million bushels of ending stocks to our forecast, roughly using that type of a yield of right around 50 million or 50 bushels an acre. So we'll see an increase in stocks.